Hello everyone, this is Darion GNB here, and welcome to another GNB discussion, and another installment of Hedgehog Month. Today I'll be talking about something that's kind of been a rampant thing in the Sonic community for the past couple of months, or perhaps even longer, and it's this whole Japanese purist thing that's going on amongst Sonic fans. Now, this may not make that much sense to a lot of folks, but if I were to explain it to anyone not in the online Sonic sphere, or more specifically the Twitter sphere, this whole Japanese purism thing stems from a lot of Sonic fans being very vocal about liking and appreciating the Japanese side of the franchise, the lore, characterization, etc., over the Western writing interpretations, characterizations, material like comics and cartoons, etc., which isn't that unreasonable of a stance to take at first glance. The Sonic series is one founded in Japan, after all. So it makes sense some folks would be more favorable towards what's supposed to be the original series writing, characterization, and all that. But I think the thing that gets some other fans riled up about these quote-unquote purists is whether intentionally or not, they often act like some stuff from the Western branch hasn't had any important impact on the franchise in any shape or form, or that they can't have some sort of interesting input on the franchise, whether it comes to characterization, lore, etc. One thing that immediately comes to mind for me personally is that of the character Silver the Hedgehog. Earlier in the series, Silver was a character that was written with a lot more grit and edge to his personality, not too dissimilar from the likes of Shadow and Sonic. But in recent years, mainly within the IDW comics, they heighten his naivete and optimistic side a bit more. And while I generally prefer Silver to have a bit more edge when it comes to his personality, I don't necessarily hate this kind of switch up, because it kind of just makes him stand out more compared to Sonic and Shadow. Having three stoic male hedgehogs isn't necessarily a bad thing, but I do appreciate how recently they try to make Silver stand out a bit more, as him being the metaphorically lighter one of the three. And it's not like these two types of personalities for Silver can't work in tandem, because the recent issues of IDW have done a pretty good job of balancing it. Stuff like that, and a bunch of other little minor stuff in the series. Like the name Robotnik being something exclusive to the Western comics and cartoons, later being canonized through the introduction of Gerald and Maria Robotnik, or Sonic's love for chili dogs, and little stuff like that throughout the franchise. And it feels like every other month there's some sort of debate and drama with Sonic fans that sometimes happens to involve these, quote, purists. And all the debates I've seen honestly feel super silly. Debates that have gotten so rampant and heated to the point where I unironically see people call the Japanese side of Sonic boring, which is just... Alright, I'll get to that in 1 second, but I kind of want to talk about these quote-unquote purists here first. The thing that kind of gets me about these guys is that, again, whether intentionally or not, it really feels like some of them, I'll be generous and assume it's just a very vocal minority, take so many hard stances against the Western side of the franchise purely because it's Western. And I rarely see some of these folks hold that extreme level of critique for the Japanese scripts and material. You'd be shocked how many times over the years I've seen so many folks swear to me stories like Shadow 05, Sonic X, and Sonic 06, etc., were absolute shit in the English version, but are so much better when you watch the Japanese version. And yeah, this stuff is undoubtedly better, but I don't mean it's good. Now, of course, all this stuff is opinionated. If y'all think this shit is the greatest thing since God's nutsack, it ain't no skin off my back. I just find it funny how some of these folks hold the JP material in such high regard, as if they're exempt from the poor writing quality and the character inconsistencies that plague the English side of the franchise. I rarely see some of these folks harp on stuff like this, like they do with the English writing of the games, or even the writing for the comics and stuff. I've seen so many of these folks spark debates over some of the most minute and minuscule dialogue and writing choices for the characters that they swear is far removed from anything they would say or do, and it's just kinda silly. But on the other end of that spectrum, the guys that go bat to bat with these purists also seem just as ridiculous, and it's part of the main reason why I wanted to throw this little thing together. Because it's gotten to a point where some of these guys treat the purists as if they're some kind of weird cult among the Sonic community. And the debates have escalated to a point where, like I said, we got niggas thinking Sonic in Japanese is quote-unquote boring. But then in the same breath, praise Black Knight and Unleash Sonic like that's literally not just a faithful depiction of the Japanese Sonic writing. I'm willing to bet niggas only think that shit because these constant debates have folks harp on some of the most minute things when it comes to the writing for the comics and stuff. Because the Japanese Sonic that people claim is so boring is literally just Sonic. That's like saying JP Goku is boring. Like, nigga, what? It's the same fucking character. SA1 Sonic up to Unleashed in Black Knight in both English and JP, with a few minor differences here and there, but we're not here to talk about that today, is literally just Sonic the Hedgehog. What the fuck? And another thing I've noticed with a few of these folks is this weird obsession with almost wanting to take the franchise away from its Japanese roots. Whether intentionally or not, and I'm going to be a bit more generous than I think I should be, and assume this is just another loud minority, some of these folks that like to clap back at these quote-unquote purists, once again, whether intentionally or not, want to bring up points as to why sticking by the JP material is almost pointless, simply due to the fact that Sonic is not that popular over there in the East than over here in the West. And I've even seen some folks suggest the direction of the series should be solely in Western hands, considering the popularity Sonic has over here after all. And I don't know if this needs to be said, but wanting or thinking a franchise that's rooted in Japanese storytelling to essentially be ripped away from that in favor of a Western direction is not a good look, not gonna lie. It's like if I wasn't a fan of the Dragon Ball Super manga and just wanted the whole entire thing to be given over to Western writers and creators. Not to help or whatever, but to take over the entire goddamn thing. I can't be the only one who thinks that sounds a little crazy. But I think when it comes to this whole thing, there's no bigger culprit than Sega themselves. The Sonic series, like many other franchises from Japan, has a long history of poor English localizations, and it's caused many things within the franchise to be misinterpreted over the years. So many games' stories are made much worse with poor translations, Shadow 05 being a notable one, even if I still don't think that story is all that good. I saw a tweet a while ago with someone asking why Dragon Ball fans are more open to discussing the fault in English localizations and translations and stuff. And I think one of the reasons is because we've had dubs and stuff that accurately portrays these characters and writing. Like, Dragon Ball fans are open to criticizing the Hope of the Universe speech from Goku, because we have stuff like the DBZ Kai dub that accurately depicts Toriyama's writing and depiction of the character. With Sonic, it's not that simple, as accurate translations of the JP material aren't as easily accessible to most people, with more people opting to simply go by the English dub, which to me is pretty understandable. Sega just needs to get better with the localization stuff, and I think they're getting there. Shadow Gens' story is pretty one-to-one in English and JP, so here's hoping to keep it up. This whole purism thing is really ridiculous, with both sides blowing things way more out of proportion than they need to. Especially the latter half I discussed, because yikes. I'm sorry if I can't properly convey what it is that I'm talking about. I don't have any screenshots, so if you're not in that sphere of the Sonic community, then I genuinely don't know what to tell you. This is just stuff I've noticed over a long while and just wanted to yap about for a bit. So if you enjoyed this video, let me know in the comments below, and be sure to like and subscribe. This has been Darion GNB. Take care.